All right, this is Mr. Evans, and we are going to be building a pumpkin today, and we're making this video with one of my classes. They know what they're doing, so that's why I chose this class to do this video with. And I wanted to help other students that might be struggling with this. So this is how we're going to get started. We have already built a pumpkin before, and if you wanted to look at your other pumpkins or pull up an old pumpkin, you could from your data panel, but it's not really necessary. So I'm just going to pull up one from my data panel that I did previously, just so I can show you what that might look like. So here's what the pumpkin's going to look like when we're done. And notice I actually carved my name into it because today happens to be Halloween. So I did a little Halloween decorations on this pumpkin that I created. And I want to go ahead and make a new pumpkin now. So let's say this is going to be another pumpkin on this design. Actually, I have two pumpkins in this design. I'm going to turn this one off, and I'm going to show you how I want to start a new pumpkin in this build. So I'm going to go ahead and activate my root component. Super, super important, by the way. Activate my root component. And if you are starting a new file, by the way, just save the file. It'll actually activate that root component once you start saving it. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a new component, and I'm going to call this one... what I got, pumpkin 1 and pumpkin 2. So we're just going to call this one pumpkin 3. Now you wouldn't do this if you're making your first pumpkin. This is only if you want to make your second or third pumpkin on the design. I'm going to click OK. And notice I have a blank canvas to work with. I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Now go ahead and refer to your directions. I'm going to be jumping because step 1 was turning on Fusion. Step 2 was saving, which I already pulled up a file. I'll go ahead and click save just so you can see what that looks like. So I went ahead and saved it. And now we're on step 3. So step 3, if I go down my steps here, it's to go ahead and create a form. Now it looks like I don't have that shortcut up here, so I'm going to have to go to the create menu and then create form. So everybody go ahead and do that, class, please. Let's start our form. And next we're going to go ahead and create a sketch. And I'm going to do it on the XZ plane. Once again, I'm just reading directions here. So pick the XZ plane. If you have a hard time finding the XZ plane or you're not sure which one's which, click on your front view. And then that's the only one that's visible. So click right there, and I'm ready to sketch. We're going to be making a construction line that's 80 millimeters long. So I'm going to activate my line tool. I can either hit the L key, or I can come up here and click on the line tool. Start at the origin, so click. Now, oh man, I did not turn on my construction line. Can I still do it after clicking on the origin? Let's see. Oh, look at that. I can actually hover over here, turn on the construction line, and then just go back like nothing ever happened. So we turn on our construction line, and then I'm going to type in 80. Make sure it's straight up and down. If you look there at the degrees, you can see the degrees are at 90 if it's straight up and down. Perfect. Hit return. Boom. You got your construction line. How's everybody doing out there? We doing good? Good. All right. You can make some noise if I ask questions, just so you know.
Yes, sir.
All right. Here we go. Let's go ahead and do a control point spline, which is my next tool. And I'm going to activate that in my menu here under the spline. So it's under create, spline, control point spline. There it is. Click on that. I'm going to go ahead and go over and turn off my construction line. Why? Because my directions told me to. So we're going to turn that off because we don't want a construction line anymore. Now, I have a picture to look at here to reference. This is steps 5 and 6 in your directions if you want to look at those. And it tells me I need to make 5 points, and I'm making the profile of a pumpkin shape, so this curved line. So it makes me start a little bit above the origin, right on the construction line. How do I know I'm on the construction line? I'll get this X shape that pops up. So watch, when I'm not on the construction line, it's a cross. When I get on there, it's an X. So I want to keep the X right about here. Click. Then go, I don't know, 4 or 5 boxes over. There's no measurements to do here. So it's really up to you. If you want a really wide pumpkin, well, go over further. If you want a really skinny pumpkin, don't go over as much. All right, so there's 1 point there. And then we're going to make another point about halfway. And notice the halfway mark actually pops up with a little dotted construction line. That's kind of cool. About halfway up, we're going to make another point. And then my that is my third point. My fourth point is going to go above the 80 millimeter line, about right about there, about that halfway point there. And then my last one is going to go near the construction line, but not too close. And I did see some of you, by the way, I had two people come up and show me that they had no stem area. Like the top of their pumpkin was almost closed in. That's because you made this too close to the line. You've got to leave it out a little bit. The further out you make it, the bigger your stem is going to be. So maybe I'm going to make it right about there. Let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter key, or I'm going to click, by the way, first. Sorry, click. And then hit the enter key, or I can click this little check box that pops up right here. Either one would work, and that ends your drawing. Now, in the directions, it tells me to hit the return key, which is fine. And then it says you can mess with these points. I did leave one thing off the directions. It's something you should know. Notice my tool is still active. Who can tell me, how can I stop my tool from being active? I don't want it to be active anymore.
The escape key.
Escape key. Good. You guys are all on the right track. So hit the escape key, and it will stop the tool. Now I can go in here and pull on these points, any of them. So if I want my stem to be a little skinnier, okay, let's go a little bit closer. If I want my pumpkin to be a little, on the chunky side there, actually, let's make it, I like it like right about there. And then the last thing, don't forget this, on the directions it says don't make that curve go below the x-axis. What's going to happen there is your pumpkin won't sit flat if we were to 3D print this if you don't make this nice and level and straight on the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and put it right on the x-axis right there. That's good. All right, once you're done and you got all your points in the right place, I'm going to jump to step 7, which is to revolve it. But before I do that, by the way, I did forget my last step. I do have to hit finish sketch. So finish sketch, and then I'm going to find my revolve tool in my forms menu. Notice all those purple tools up here. That means we're in forms. Make sure yours are purple, because if you don't have purple tools here, you're not in form. You're going to have to go back and start over again. So let's go to the revolve tool, and then I'm going to select this profile, and then I'm going to change my select to the axis right here. Click, and then I'm going to click my construction line, and there we go. I've got myself a form to mess with. And that should be good. I'm going to go ahead and click OK or hit the return key, and now we are moving on to step 8. So that's a pretty quick step. Not much I can do with that. If you want to look at it, you can hit the home view. You should have a hole here. If you don't have a hole there, go back. You made your line too close to the construction line. You definitely want to have a hole there. Okay. Let's go ahead and subdivide this. I have on my directions the front view, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's do the front view. I'll zoom in a little bit for you. And we're going to go into Modify, Subdivide. It says select faces to divide. I can pick any face here. I just have to double click on it though. Double click. And then in my menu over here, actually we call this the dialog box, right? In my dialog box, I'm going to change the insert mode to exact, the length faces to 3, and then click OK or return, either one. And now you can see I have a lot more faces than when I started. By the way, whether you're following me on the video or you're doing it live right now, if you mess up, don't just sit there. Try to figure it out. You have the directions in front of you. You will learn more by going through the directions yourself and trying to figure it out than just listening to me do the steps. Okay? Let's go into step 9. It's called symmetry. Symmetry has its own menu right here. And we want to do the circular internal symmetry. So click on that. And then just click any of the faces. We're going to click this face right here. That's what the picture shows. So I'm going to click that one. And I have to make some changes here. I've got to say 16-sided. And that's it. That's all my directions say. Do that and hit the return key. There you go. You're good. So now you can see all these different green lines. Now I will tell you this because I don't think anyone in this class will have this problem, but you might. If the lines don't turn green and you know you followed the steps, that could be a glitch in the software. It's not a big deal. All you'd have to do is save what you're working on, quit Fusion 360, and then reload the software. Here's what happens. When we hit clear symmetry later on in the process, for some reason the program has a hard time bringing symmetry back up again. So it's just one of these little glitches if you run into that problem. You only run into that, like if I build multiple pumpkins in the same day without restarting my computer or restarting my program even, I will have that issue. So if you're just building a pumpkin for the first time, you should be good. All right, symmetry is on. I know because the green lines are there. What I'm going to do now is insert an edge. And I am now on step 10. So insert edge is in the modify menu. It is the third one down, insert edge. And then in my front view, it tells me to double click on the middle line. Honestly, you could click on any of the green lines, but it's just easier to pinpoint one of them. So just double click, and you'll see all of these yellow lines pop up. That means we're selecting all of those. We have a couple things to change. Insert mode is exact again, and the insert location, I think, is set at default as 0.5. We're going to leave it at 0.5. I think that's just fine for what we're doing. Hit the return key or click OK. And now, before we subdivided into more faces, now you just inserted more edges. And the reason why it inserted so many edges is we did a symmetrical insert. In other words, we inserted one next to every single edge all the way around the shape. All right, now we're getting into the fun part, I feel like. We're going to use this tool called the Edit Form tool. And the reason I like this tool is you get to use this, the tool actually opens up a thing called the manipulator. I just think that's a cool name. It's a very Halloween sounding name, like something you might see in a scary movie, like the person attacked them with a manipulator. It just sounds horrible, right? So we're going to use a manipulator today. Let's go ahead and click on Edit Form. And in order to get that manipulator tool to pop up, we've got to select something. And what we're going to select is 4 lines right in the front. And this is what my directions tell me, by the way. It says to hold the shift key down, very important, and click on the edges, okay? The middle edges, not the faces, edges. So click, 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 click. There's the 4. And notice that it selects them all around because we still have symmetry turned on. Now my directions say to go to my home view, and that's that manipulator tool. Look at that tool. It does look, it's just a lot, right? Look at all the different things on that manipulator tool. So we're going to take that tool now, and what my directions tell me to do is click and drag on the arrow moving to the inside. So that's this arrow right there. You can see it kind of turns black and white. There's a line going through it, and I get a little hand that shows up. And I'm going to click and then drag. Now it says to drag it to 8 millimeters, but I will tell you, that's just really an approximate number. 10 is fine. If you want to switch it to 8, that's fine too. You want to make it a little bigger, maybe 15. That might be a little too much. That doesn't look very pumpkin-y. That looks a little bit more like we're trying to make like a star fruit or something. But, pick a number that, you want something. You don't want to do like 6. 6 is pretty good. But I think, honestly, 8 looked good for mine. So, again, it depends on how wide your pumpkin is. Once you put in that number, let's see if there's anything else in my directions. It says push the return key, so I am good. So now I have a pumpkin, more of a pumpkin shape than before. Before it was more, real smooth and everything. Now I've got these little dimples in it. All right, moving on. We've got quite a bit more to do, but it's going to go fast from here on out. So we got the hard part done, I feel like. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the symmetry. So under the symmetry menu, if you go down, there is a clear symmetry option. And this is what we do for step 13. It just says clear the symmetry. It does say check your design in this step as well. And it just says make sure you're good. If you're not good, I would undo whatever I just did and go back, right? So step 14 now, I have to zoom in on the opening, like super zoom in. Like you can see how close I'm getting there. And then I go to the Modify menu, and I go back to that Edit Form tool again. We use this tool a lot in this build. So Edit Form again. And then I want to double-click on one of these edges. Now, I had this happen in one of my other classes. If all the edges don't select, it either turns blue or a yellowish color, depending on your color that you're designing with. If they don't all select, you're going to have to manually hold the Shift key down and click all of them. They should, but for some reason I had some people that had ones that did not select. Once you do that, it tells you to go to your front view, zoom back out, hold the Option key down, and drag the top arrow up until it hits 30 millimeters. You just created your stem. And by the way, if you don't hold the Option key down, let's just see what happens if I didn't hold the Option key down. Let's go back. Let's see. I'm not going to hold the Option key down. Let's see what happens. Oh, that does not look like I'm creating a stem. That looks like I'm creating a pear. Okay, so let me undo that. We don't want to do that. Hold that Option key down and drag it straight up to 30. It also tells me, just to make it look a little more natural, we're going to tilt the edge of our stem like it was kind of cut at an angle. I think we have 25 degrees listed in our notes. That should work. And that is called the taper arc or the rotate arc right there. And we're going to turn it to 25 degrees. All right, click OK or hit return, either one. You're done with that step. It now tells me to zoom in on the top of the stem. So I've got to turn my home view and zoom in on the top. Okay. I still have it selected. So if I clicked fill hole, it would actually fill the hole. But I'm going to go ahead and deselect it. To deselect stuff, you can use that same escape key that you stop the tools with. But I'm going to go to Modify, Fill Hole. And then all I have to do is click one of these edges. And boom, it fills it. It tells me to do a couple other things. It tells me to check the box that says Keep Crease. It also tells me to collapse. And now that's what you get. And again, keep in mind, if you get stuck, back up. You got the directions in front of you. Just see what you can do on your own. Don't just sit there and do nothing. Go ahead and click return or hit OK. And now that's what we have so far. Next step. We want to go ahead and spin or turn this a little bit. So what I have to do is select just the stem. And this can be a little difficult. So in the notes, it tells you to go to the top view and maybe zoom in a little bit. You don't have to zoom in a lot. We just want to select this area right here. And in order to do that, we're going to use a selection box. Let me show you how that works. Click on the Edit Form tool. And then go over here to the Edit Form area and change the selection filter from All to Face. We just want to select faces. You guys can't see it on the screen?
No. 88271.
Has it been like that the whole time?
Like just like 2 seconds. Just happened. It's still recording?
It's still recording. It's okay. I can either edit it out or just leave it in. Might be a little breather for people to get theirs done. Is it back?
No. This says 8. You can see it in the background, but it still says 8271. Is that you? You can see it.
All right, just leave it. It's you guys are the only ones that can see it. So just follow along. You have your sheet, so you should be able to follow along anyway. All right. So right here, I'm going to show you how to select it. So the selection filter is on face. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and I'm going to click the left corner of a box. So even though it looks like I'm selecting this face, if you click and drag, it creates this orange box. Now, it's really important you start clicking from the top left to the bottom right, because that'll give you an orange box that we need. When you let go right here, it'll just select the faces that are inside that box and nothing out here. Okay? And that's what you need for this next step. So once you select that, it tells me I'm going to step 20, actually. Go ahead and click your front view. So that was the top view. I'm going to click on my front view, And from here, we're going to make a couple changes. We're going to turn this rotate manipulator tool again and kind of give it a little bit of a natural curve to it. Now you could go left too, by the way. You don't have to go to the right, but I'm going to go to the right because that's what my directions say. But you could go the other way. And we want to kind of tilt it a little bit, make it look more natural. Just a little bit. I think the directions say, how much does the direction say? It says 10. You could do 10, you could do 15. I'm not going to tell you, you have to do an exact number. It's supposed to make it look natural for you. So I'll do 10 since my directions say that, but you can do something different. Then we want to grab this little square right here on the manipulator tool. It has a very long name. It's called the planar direction square manipulator. That's the official name. And we're going to grab that, and I'm going to kind of drag it down and maybe over, but you kind of want to make it look like what a pumpkin might look like straight from the side. You could even drag it up some, I guess. I don't know. If you drag it up, though, it doesn't really look very pumpkin-y. I feel like a pumpkin dips down in the top, so I'm going to push it down a little bit. And it does say to move it down like somewhere between -8 and another -8, but it says approximately. So if you go a little further than that or more than that, it's not a big deal. All right, I'm going to leave mine right there. I think that's going to look good. And now I'm going to click OK. And honestly, as far as the pumpkin goes, that's it. You've built your pumpkin. We got a couple other little things to do, but the pumpkin itself is built. So you can now click Finish Form. Now, I've had some people have this problem where when they click Finish Form, it will not let them do it. It means you made a mistake somewhere. You crossed your form over itself somewhere. It happens. You just got to go back, undo your steps, and try again. And this will go faster and faster every time you do it. All right, here's my home view right here. That's what it should look like. The next thing is kind of a color thing. I'll go through that real quick. There's a lot of steps on the paper, but honestly, it's not that much on the computer. So I'm going to click my Appearance tool, which is actually down here in the bottom of this Modify menu. Bless you. It happens. All right, click the Appearance tool, and notice I go back to my my original shape, which my original shade, which is gold. Bless you again. And we're going to go ahead and drag. Now I already have it in here, but I'll search for it again. We want to search for something called textured plastic. So texture. Let's see what I get here. There's textured plastic. And by the way, there is some options here that you can download. I'm actually going to pick this skin one because I've never tried the skin one. Let's see what that looks like. I don't even know if I'll see it any differently, but go ahead and drag that onto your shape. And it's going to turn black, which is fine. But then what we're going to do is up here where it shows that textured skin appearance tool, I'm going to right-click on it, edit, and now I can change the color to an orange color. So I can move my slider and then click inside this and make it as orange as I want. Maybe I want it bright orange, or maybe I want it like a darker orange. Like, make it look natural. Something like that would be a good one. Then I just click Done. I click Close. And I just did steps 25, 26, and 27. And then as far as 28 goes, I'm not going to follow steps 28, 29, and 30 for mine because I already created a new component. If you did not create a new component, let's say you started this from the beginning, you want to go ahead and follow those steps yourself. It's simply right-clicking on it. I'll go ahead and right-click. And you would actually create a new component out of the body that you created. So you have to find body 1 and create a new component out of it. But I don't need to do that because I did already create a component. So I'm pretty much done with mine. But since this is a Halloween edition, and I feel like we have a couple minutes, let's draw a jack-o'-lantern face on this. We just did this, so hopefully you guys can follow along. Oh, by the way, the directions do tell me, why isn't mine orange? Anybody know? Why isn't mine orange?
Because that's your default.
No. What do I have to push to turn this? Like, I made it orange. Shift N, good. Remember, Shift N goes back and forth between your component color, which in my case is yellow, and orange, which is that one right there. Okay. All right, I want to go ahead and decorate this. So in order to decorate it, I want to create an offset plane. By the way, if this comes up, this just tells you that I moved something around at some point. I'm okay with that, so I'm going to go ahead and capture the position. It's totally fine where it is for right now. And then I'm going to construct this offset plane off of my front plane. So here's my front. I'm going to turn to the front, and there's that front plane. Okay. And then I'll turn it back to kind of that home view again, and then I'm going to drag that front plane. How far do I have to drag it out? I just want to get it outside of my pumpkin. Oh, that's plenty far. Let's go a little closer. 60 works perfect for this one. Click OK. And now I need to create a sketch, and I want to pick this new plane that I just made. There we go. Oh, it flipped it to my back view. Let's turn it around. I want the front view. And at this point, I just want to go ahead and draw a jack-o'-lantern face. I did tell the class it's a good idea to hide your shape, but you better know where you're doing your face. So I'm going to zoom in, and I know my face is above the origin. So I'm going to be designing right here, but I'm going to go ahead and hide this while I'm designing. And I'm just going to draw some lines. Let's do a traditional jack-o'-lantern type face here. I'll make some eyes. Oh, you know what? It's not letting me show it because Mr. Evans made a mistake. But you know what? I love making a mistake on camera. When I hid this, I hid the entire thing, the entire component. What I have to do is open this up and only hide the bodies. Because if you hide the sketches, I don't know if you noticed, it looked like I was doing phantom drawing. You couldn't even see what I was drawing. So you do have to be careful about that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining the drawing. This is just drawing lines. But you do want to close in your polygons. If you don't make closed polygons, you will not be able to extrude them later. So I'm making, again, somewhat of a traditional pumpkin. Oh, I did not click on that. Let me click. A traditional, let me zoom in. It's not letting me place that point. There we go. Sometimes you need to zoom in and zoom out to get things to work right. But make sure you close your shapes. They'll turn a shade of blue when you close them. And you can use curved lines on the mouth. I'm actually going to make all my lines just straight, like as if I took my knife to cut on the pumpkin. I just kind of kept going straight like this. And I'm going to put a little mouth on there. How about a couple teeth? We'll give my pumpkin a few teeth here. And again, though, make sure you end your lines where they meet each other. So see right there, it'll meet, and then you can see that it made it shaded. Once you're done, I mean, I could spend a lot of time on this, but once you're done, go ahead and hit Finish Sketch. And then you're ready to extrude this. But in order to do this, let's bring our body back, our pumpkin back, and that's going to look pretty good. I wonder, can I drag these? No, I can't. If I was back in sketch mode, I could go back into sketch mode and move my eyes and nose if I needed to in my mouth. But it's good right there. So now what I'm going to do is hit the extrude key. Again, you can just capture the position. I'm going to turn it to the home view. And I'm going to click each one of my shapes. And just push it into my pumpkin. Now, I haven't hollowed out my pumpkin yet. That's going to be a later activity. So I just have to push it in far enough that I can see it. For example, 30 works for me. Click OK. Take a look at your front view. And there is my jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. I want to click Save. Don't forget Save. And there you go. I will end with one last thing. And by the way, class, you guys did an awesome job, at least, paying attention. Hopefully you participated. One last thing. You're going to need to turn in this pumpkin for a grade, but I need 2 pumpkins on the same document for this grade. So just so you know, when you make your next pumpkin, in order to do that, you're going to activate your main component. And you're going to have to show all your pumpkins. So I have 3 of them here. Let's see if I can show all of them. All right. And then you're going to want to click and drag the pumpkins away from each other because you can't have them right all on top of each other. So you can see I have 3 pumpkins here, and you want all your pumpkins to be different sizes, a little bit at least. Okay, a little bit. So there is my 3 pumpkins. Now I can go ahead and do my multiple views. Start being smart about multiple views. I usually tell you, but just give me views that show me that you did the work right. There's a good top view. That's a great one because it shows me all the tops. That's a great one, that front view. This one, not so good, right? Because I can only see one pumpkin. So let's maybe do like a bottom angled view. I've been using that one a lot. Something like that. So I can see that you did the bottom of the pumpkins correct. And then screenshot that, turn it in, and you're good to go. Happy Halloween if you celebrate those kind of things. And I'll see you on the next video. You clapping? We got to